Welcome, everybody, and happy Friday. Hope everybody is doing well. If you're out there, give me a shout out in the chat. Let me know that my audio is working, as that was a problem at the end of the show last week. Apologize for that. For some reason, Restream, at times, depending on the scene that you use, will mute the microphone, and the chat also doesn't always advance for you, and so you have to keep up on that. And I didn't see everybody saying it wasn't um, um, that it wasn't working, so I missed that. But all right, so welcome in, Randy. Mom, hello. It is the end of the season for the Rangers, so all you're watching is probably prospects at this point anyway. Ken, welcome in. Hey, Bill, welcome. Appreciate the notification that everything sounds good. I don't know if folks have their TVs on in the background and are watching the NCAA games, the basketball games, but it's looking to be a bracket buster evening right now, for at least in our household. But and also NCAA hockey is on for those hockey fans out there, especially here in Minnesota, who don't have a team playing really. But yeah, so I actually got some actual model railroading done this week, so we'll have some things to talk about. I did post some pictures. I'll have some of that here in when we get moving here. Massey Pony, welcome in. What scale do you model? Or do you model a scale? Do you have a layout? All the usual questions for model railroaders who hop in and are new. And Bill, not sure if you've let us know either. I don't remember if what scale you model, if you have your own layout, or what you're working on. So, but we will get to what we're working on. As you know, I've kind of got moving with the coil car. So as part of the AP program, so as part of an S scaler. So do you know Ken, who's in the chat? He's our one of our resident S scalers here in the with the Twin Cities division, and so as you know, one of the things that I did, so most of you know, I do 3D printing, and so that's how I was designing this car. And this was the first print that I did. This was the second one, and I did a quick print after I thought that I had fixed this issue. Now, and this stringing is just from the settings that I had at the time, which can all be fixed. So some of the coil cars had essentially covers over top of these, so I could get away with doing something like that. But in the interest of those that are fans of scratch building with styrene and other wood and other materials, I'm also building it out of styrene mostly. I didn't really know how to build these from styrene, so I did go ahead and use my 3D print design for these pieces. Now, these are the same as these, so I'm not sure why this happened, and it may have been the way it was positioned. I'm not really sure, but I did add these. I used, what did I try for glue? Since it's really hard to find glues that really work with PLA, I used E6000, and I have this E6000 Premium that I used. And so what I did this week are work on the ends of the cars. And so we'll show you that here. I hope I'm not starting any fights over there on the S-scale side of things. That's unintended consequences of this community I'm trying to build here. But let me go ahead, and I'm going to pull up the some slides for you to show you what I did this week. So I have some coils that I 3D printed. They're not necessarily scale size. They're supposed to be HO scale, but there are different sizes of coils too. So for the center, hey Tom, welcome in. I'm a little scared of that secret society of S-scalers, though. They make me a little scared. But I have these anyway to show or to test or show on here. But this is in the 3D printed car. Here's the car again. I think that I made the ends, if I'm trying to do it to scale that I have from all the measurements in my little black book, I think these ends are a little large, but they'll work for what we need. However, on the coil car, on those ends, they actually have sides that are connected. So I had to build these tiny little triangle sides. So I took some more of the 04 styrene to do that. On the left side of this picture, on the left side of this picture are the little tiny triangles. The large triangles are the ends, and you'll notice some pink on the corner of the four larger triangles, and that is, although I can see it when I try to fit it in, I've been known to glue things backwards, so I used a paint marker to mark those up so that I know which angle goes in, but we'll take a further look at that. So here I am gluing those sides on. For that, I use the Tamiya extra thin glue that I always use. And you can see they're slightly different sizes, and I'm going to correct those later. Welcome in, Gopher Girl. And here's another one on the other side. You can see the pink marker in the background. Just did lots of cutting of styrene this week. So here are the big angles and that I used. So Massey, are all of those projects or all those layouts going on at one time, or did you build the Pine Ridge Railroad, then the the ON30, and now you're building the Z-scale Marklin, or like I said, are you doing all those at once? So what I'm going to do with these ends, and I'll show you a picture of an actual one. They are they're basically ribs that are on that on the ends. Let me see if I can pull those up. And so I'm actually going to cut those down in this process, but I needed to be able to handle them and get them in there. So let me see if I can find a good picture. Yeah, it's a pretty good picture, so we'll pull that up in a minute. So all right, so this next one here, so this is the other side. So there are 4 of these ribs, and I'm trying to make sure that that my fingers don't get in the way and everything. So I was doing one on one side, one on the other, one on one side, one on the other. Thank you, Gopher Girl. I also said to Gopher Girl that she needed to tell me last time that that nobody could hear me. So she's telling me now, which I appreciate. Keep me honest and make sure it's working throughout. And so here you can see I'm adding additional ribs, and you can see the ones that were cut. So I added the 2 on each side, cut them, then I'm adding 2 more on each side. And so here's each end of them. So there are 4 ribs in the middle. One end will get a brake wheel housing and a brake wheel. So that's my work in the styrene. It has a little bit to be desired. I did try to measure them out, and I used that pink marker again for the spots where I was going to put them. But as I was trying, the hole in the middle is bigger than the other ones, so I was trying to measure that out, and it wasn't. So I had to do it visually. But the one on the left, you can see a much better job than the one on the right. There's some angles there, and there's some of the styrene glued in angled, and I'm learning great patience. This took a few days because I was letting this styrene, the glue on it, or the solvent on it, to settle in, and so that's where I got with this. Let me see if I can move over, and let's share this screen here. And let me see if I can well, didn't do exactly what I wanted, but let's see. Well, now I just made a mess of it. So you can see on here that GW Rail, welcome in. How are you doing? Let us know about GW Rail and what you're working on there. You sure do. I need something to do in Wisconsin. Um, so so you can see the ribs and the that are in here. Uh, there are essentially only a couple of things on here. Now the other end is definitely has the brake wheel housing, the brake wheel and everything. But this one I'm just going to need some. Probably use some K&S. Well, I could get away with styrene too. But to do the grab irons and the bars across, then over the coupler housing, there's this kind of shelf. And then, and so it's not overly complicated. The coupler housing and and everything is part of a I got from CalScale Models. The Hydra cushion is what's used. So the detail set for that will help me with the with the whole underbody, basically. That'll be the center rib or rail that will go underneath. Here's what I was talking about. You can see on this one too, it's almost like they have some metal that's bent over these tranches as further protection, that I could do something on the 3D model if I want to do multiples or something like that. You can also see something that bothers me a little bit that I haven't been able to figure out in the 3D printed model. On this one, you have on all of them, the tranches go down a little bit straighter than wider out. And I haven't been able to figure out how to do that geometrically. So a little bit frustrating on that, but I think I've got a reasonable facsimile that I probably could get away with on this one at this point. Let me see if I can see if there's another one with a brake wheel housing, just to show you the difference. No. Nope. So I think the brake wheel housing, the little ledge, are probably the hardest things for me to do on here. And I mean, this wasn't so easy, this process. Here's one. It's an okay picture of the brake wheel housing. So there's a housing behind that, and it's held on, it looks like, by 4 pieces of metal onto these 2 bars. And then you still have the railings on the end sections. So some of them have some of the cleaner ones, unlike that, which is really old and's been painted over and redone. Oh, we do not want to do that. Look for cleaner ones. Some of them have decals on the ends, and I don't know that I've been able to. Here's the one I think is. I have decals for these, and so, but I probably could put almost anything in there. A question out to our master model railroaders out there, and our not master model railroaders out there, but not all of them have them. Some are older and may just not have that information on the ends, or it may just be worn out. Would I would it be detrimental to not have them in there? The reason I ask is I feel like I would have to paint and finish these ends before I put the rest of that together, before I put the um, edges to these ribs, before I put the stirrups on, all of that. I feel like I would have to paint and finish and gloss coat and everything, and then have to put um, the decals on those ends. And I don't know if I want to do that because they're not every one of these cars has them. So curious what other people think I should do there. If I should go the extra mile on that, or should leave it be and just build out the ends. I do have to get some styrene. I don't have anything that really will look scale for those ends, for the ribs and everything. So I've got to get another package of strip styrene. So I was thinking like 020 by 060 to put on here on the edges of these. And then that'll give a bigger surface for those if I use wire for those. Yeah, so Tom, that's what I was thinking is you want to save them for last. I just didn't know if I could even fit them in. Even with these ribs, I wasn't sure I could fit them in. So yeah, that's what I was hoping to hear, is to save them and not worry as much about that. But I'll have definitely have all those decals that you see on the side. I'll have, or all the lettering and words and the logos and the data sheets and everything. I have those. So I'll be good to go on the sides for sure. You can see even on this one, it has some numbering or some other indicators on some of the tranches on the inside of there. So this one had, but there you have the others that have hardly anything or are patched up. So. But yep. And I can tell you, I can mess them up anywhere on a car too. I can destroy them for sure. What's nice about these decals is, well, at least they were shipped to me as new and they were sealed in a package. I'm so used to grabbing, hey Bob, welcome in. I'm so used to grabbing open and old decals from a local hobby shop that it was nice when I used one of the Conrail logos on that line side structure, and it was really nice and so much easier to work with new. So it was much more enjoyable and something that I struggle with. But there is, because, so let me go back to my camera here. So because there's not a lot out there on what the underside looks like, but it's, from what I've seen, it's mostly just the center sill. They have really small ribs that raise the center sill up or lower it, I should say, either one. And I should try and there is a Tangent has an upside down picture, I think, of their car. So it's actually raised up a little bit, but what I have from CalScale is this, and it's this whole assembly. So it has all of these parts, so that can be built out. I'll have to build the. I did start testing this for the bolsters. One of the things I struggled with the flat car, and with the gondola, is these bolsters, the way they had them built, came out so small. When I built this out, I actually extended this out and made this surface solid and larger so that I could fit a screw in there. So understanding that and looking at what the underside of the car looks like, at least from the tangent model, they have pretty big bolster setup, bigger than this, although this wasn't specifically made for this, and the diagram is probably from a boxcar that they're showing here. So this will kind of angle down and to the edge and angle down into the edge. And so I don't know if this is still too big. I'll have to see how it fits with these, and how these fit underneath too, or how they connect, the way this is set up. So that's going to determine how I alter this. So yes, it has. Yes, you're correct, Bob. It is a mixed media project because I just couldn't figure out how to build out these in angled like this in styrene. So from because this is built of essentially parts. These sides are parts. The base is a part. Each of these is a part that are all, and these are parts that are all put together within the CAD software. And so each of these parts I designed. So I was able to simply take the tranches and print them out, and they printed out correctly for this project. So yes, it's a mixed media. What's surprising me is I don't feel this is as hard as I thought model railroading would be. And I'm by far not done, but I'm impressed with how far I got in a shorter time on this build. And this took a long time to measure and cut in the program and get right. So I had so I found this online, and let me see if I can do this, change the lighting here. So I found this online. So I had most of the measures in here, and I filled some of the other measures in. So this really took a chunk out of the worry that I had in building this. This is almost to scale, but not quite. So I have to still rely on these measurements. And then in order to work on this, and because I was having trouble translating this for some reason, this one, to get the measurements to cut the styrene on here, I moved to my little notebook here where I measured I took all the measurements from the diagram, listed them out, converted them over in inches to HO scale, so that I could have everything in front of me, and I wouldn't have to. And linear, I like linear. That's how I do linear. I do linear better. And lists. I'm a list guy at work. I got to check things off. But so I did this, and this worked out really well for my brain in order to come up with this. And then I did something weird. I started drafting on here how to get this done. I don't know if you can see this artwork in here, but I had the wrong amount of ribs in here and had to redo it and figure it out. But we got it figured out. Yep. And so are you talking about the Historical Society? Because that's what I was showing you earlier, was the Historical Society photos. They have a whole slew of let's see if I can. So this is from that website. So that's what we're looking at. And they have tons and tons of photos, but a lot of them are from specific angles. So sometimes there are things you can't see. So let me reduce the website here. So this one, so the Conrail Photo Archive isn't just coil cars. They have everything that you can think of that fans put out here. So all kinds of things, locomotives, freight cars, cabooses for those caboose people, maintenance away, everything you need, even some special and different ones as well. And there's a division of Conrail that actually is active right now. So there's still Conrail stuff out there, but this is pretty impressive in the way it's set up. They have tons of photos on here and of all kinds of things. They're all described. So I was able to easily go to freight cars, and they have a whole coil steel car section, and they even have it by class. And my class that I'm using is a G41A. And so I'm able to go out here and then find all of these to take a look at. And I found this more helpful than the Railroad Archive website, from the standpoint of at least just getting the photos. I think this is the one that Tangent uses. I think this is the photo that Tangent uses for the model that they built. And so they use this photo is on. They didn't have any measurements, which I was looking for, but they use this one probably because it's one of the nicer, cleaner photos out there, back from '97, and that's the car from 1997 that they modeled. And so generally, that's what I'm modeling. So that's a nice, clear photo. But some of the other photos that are out there give different angles and different looks for what we need for this. But I haven't seen, you just don't see, nobody takes underbody photos. That would be fantastic if people took underbody photos for at least my needs. Here's some high up ones. That's nice. I would like to somebody tell me I'm wrong and that they do have photos of stuff. Well, the other thing that let's take a look. So the one thing that I'm also a little frustrated about is the spacing is a little bit not to scale. You could see where you could get full coils in here, where let's see if I can do this, where the insides here are very, very small. Now there are smaller coils and things like that. So while this one may not really sit in there, I could probably get a smaller, print or make a smaller coil and put it in there. Yep, and that's what I have, Tom. I have here's their let's see here. Let's go back to this camera. So that's their sheet of decals. And it's specifically for Conrail, obviously, and for G41 and G41A coil car. And so that's, I don't know if you remember, I was asking earlier what people thought of K4 decals. I mean, it didn't matter. I was going to get them anyway. And they actually on theirs, they have, let's see here. Wow. Okay. There we go. They have what you need for placement, and they actually do have, so they did supply the decals for the ends, because they do have they do show the decals there. I just didn't see them right off, and I didn't look real close at the picture to see what the decals were, but they definitely have them. So I'll have to work on that, and hopefully that'll work out. Looks like they even have some decals on the coupler, the long coupler arms. But and they have it for basically for 4 cars on here, so it gives me a little bit of room to screw up, and I know where to get them if I'm going to build more than a couple of these cars. But when there's the logo that I used on the building, and that came out really nice and really easy to work with when it was new. So I say that was a win with those decals, and it was like, I think it was like around $8, which is what they're around, and they have, and it was through Shop, which is an app, and I had whatever offer I had, it was for free shipping. I was like, yeah, send those along. So I for sure did that. So, you know, I probably can get real specific with researching what coil sizes were in 1990s for back when this is supposed to be from. So, but so yeah, so I was pretty impressed with the amount of work I got done. But again, just to do these ends, so the 4 corners, and I don't know the light. I don't know. I'm not getting the light right. So let's try this light here. So you can see I cut those down. I somehow chopped this one off, this edge off a little bit, but those are pretty good. This one also moved on me a little. I think you saw that in one of the pictures there. So I could probably do something to fix that a little bit. I don't know how I would do that. This one I probably just use some putty to fix on that side. But then it was cutting those out and the right angle. And so I used the template. So I have a template left. Put a little T on it so I didn't glue this one in. But once I got what I needed cut, I then cut out the 8 that I needed, glued them in. And so that's the work that I did. Yeah, Randy, they do. So the model that I'm doing doesn't have the cover, and the reason, and so you saw all the pictures from the Conrail Historical Society. There's plenty that they didn't use the covers, but they had covers, and they have covers today, and you see those more now. But the one I'm modeling was modeled as if it didn't have a cover. Hey, Modeling Steel and HO, welcome in. So I'm guessing you model steel and HO. So do you have a layout? So let's see here. Let's go back to see if they have. I have to share again. So here is one from 1978 with the cover. That's a little before my time. And the tops of the covers definitely changed. The cars are larger now too. You see a lot of larger ones as well. There are other companies that make them. So when I was first researching this, I actually went out because I didn't know where to look for this stuff, and so I started out just generally searching and came up with some modern companies, and so I started there and got lots of information and got the look of the cars, and they really haven't changed much. Um, Why'd you have to tear down your layout? That's sad. Um, Sad when anybody has to tear down a layout. But hopefully you have a chance to build one up. So I really should. So I got this. I'm gonna go to Scale Model Supply tomorrow to pick up the styrene for the ends of the car for the ribs, basically. Um, so for those, so to put on the ends of that, so pick that up, and I'll they had a couple of these, so I probably should pick one up, at least another one up. So if I screw up with any of these, or on this car, or I go to add it to one of these guys, I should have a second set. So hopefully there's another one there, and I can pick it up. It's a little more expensive to get them online because you have the shipping. Otherwise, his prices are fine there. On the yeah, family had to move in. It happens. Both my brother and I um, moved. So Tom, I'm going to ask you, being that I'm not a railroader by trade, what's an ACI label? And both my brother and I moved back into our homes after college. My brother went to college and south of us. I grew up in New Jersey, and he went down to West Virginia. I went up north into New Hampshire. And afterwards, I said I didn't know I didn't have any plans. I didn't know what I was doing afterwards. So I moved home. Then I went to grad school. And I went back north into Massachusetts for grad school. Then I came back home, and as I was getting started in my career, and between there, I also had to live at home because I got an internship with a university and was paid nothing, so I had to rely on my parents again to feed me. So it happens, and hopefully family gets back on their feet. So is it on this covered one that you saw it? Let's see if I can get this. Or was it on a different car? So sometimes when I'm at those meetings and guys are talking about the cars and previous photo. Okay, so I wonder if it was the was it the nice, happy, shiny one? So yeah, sometimes when the guys are talking about the cars and everything, I get a little lost, and I just nod and say I understand what you're saying, and sometimes I don't as I try to catch on. So was it? Oh, was it on the first page? I was thinking it was the one that Tangent used that you might have been mentioning. But let's see. Where did the one from that? Know where the one I saw the Tangent one was. It was the pretty one. That's a pretty one. That's a pretty. Oh, here. I wonder if it was this one. So that S in the middle there, that wouldn't be for S scale, would it? Or is that too soon? And by the way, as I'm trying to understand even scale, so S scale would be larger, so 164, but it would still be on HO scale trucks and rail, right? I'm just wondering what it would look like for a build like this, how far in the trucks would look. And not that I want to explore S scale, but I want to be inclusive here. All scales are welcome, even dollhouse scales. When I was at one of the dollhouse miniature shows and thinking about model railroading and stuff, I thought it would be a neat idea to take like a box car, and I would have to obviously match the scales, or I wouldn't have to match the scale. I mean, if I really wanted to build something in a dollhouse scale, I could build in the dollhouse scale. It'd be gigantic, but I was thinking of taking a box car and then building a tiny layout, kind of like the one I did with the dollhouse table, but put it on the floor of the boxcar and have a little kid running it, sitting on the floor of the boxcar. Okay, I'll go back and find that one. 6222875. Okay, on page 2. Never pursued it, but I thought it might be a interesting interesting one to try. So you said page 2, You said 622-875. Page 2. 622-875. I'll get there eventually. Or knowing me, it's right in front of me and I'll pass right by it. There we go. 622-875. There we go. It depends on if her Duke team won or lost, if she's still here. We'll go in the yellow dot. Okay, so let's go over to this. Here. Okay, so okay, I remember those being talked about. I forgot where so right in here. I forgot where it was, if it was on a Michicana thing or if it was one of our meetings or presentations. So, but it's this thing right in here, if you can see my cursor. So yeah, I heard talking about the barcode system. So do you know if people have tried to model that and use it as a barcode system of some sort to manage their cars? Yeah. There's Gopher Girl. So modeling steel, this isn't a kit. So what I did base a lot of it on is the tangent kit. Or they both have ready to run and they have a kit. Just because I didn't have the resources until I learned what I needed to dig for. But let me see. So let me go. Let me grab that and see if we can switch over. So here's the coil car. This is the 1997 repaint. The PRR shops without the hood. And so here's, let me see if I can get you the a shot of the underside. So here's the underside. So this is what I was talking about. It kind of has just really this kind of spring system to soften the ride, um, or what they call this, the hydro cushion, set up on here. And so you can see it's otherwise pretty simple on the bottom. It has these really small cross ribs that I'll have to create. And then we'll see how much of the hydro cushion set from CalScale works with it, and what else I'll have to build, if anything. There'll certainly be details on the end. But they have a couple of road numbers. They have PRR, they have Conrail, and they have an undecorated, I believe, and a kit form that you would put together. This one's a ready to run version. And so I came out here to look for like if they had an exploded diagram or something like that, to start with, and they really didn't. I couldn't find anything, but they had a lot of detail, and it helped me look for other stuff in other places. And the breakthrough was that diagram with all the measurements, because that was the thing that was holding me back, and I didn't get started on it because I didn't really have any measurements. Oh, neat. Okay. I mean, it would be, even if it was a little out of scale, it would be something you could get away with doing. Didn't Heath do a barcode system? I thought somebody did. So yeah, Split Rock, the G41A seems like a simple car, but um it's daunting going from scratch built, not having having the flat car clinic has everything you need. It tells you measurements of everything, and it tells you in what order to build stuff. And the intimidating thing for me with this build, and what took me a minute to get started, was not having that, and this really not having real good information, and having to do this uh, really from scratch. But from the basics of it, from what I've learned from building other things, it certainly was much simpler than I thought it would be. Uh, so they swear that they swear that that picture that they show the one picture, but I wonder if they got under the car somehow and were taking pictures of it so that they could design it. I mean, how did CalScale come up with theirs? They probably got underneath another, and since there's showing a box car, I assume they were on the underside of a box car and figuring that out, um, um, and figuring out how that setup would be. But can you imagine them climbing under there trying to take pictures or drawings of the undersides? Are you gonna get Split Rock into the underbelly of Lego, going on the black market to get his gear pieces? I can totally see you, Tom, sitting with all the kids building um, on on the um, in the play area and building your setup and fighting over pieces that you need for your gears. So yeah, the impetus was again was having different cars for the AP program. Needing four different car types. So being that I'm really a passenger modeler, I viewed some Conrail stuff that was on the Northeast Corridor, which is what I'm modeling, and uh, I so was coming up with okay, varying them. So I already built through the one of the clinics from the Lone Star region. I built a flat car, had that already evaluated. It merited. It won best in show last year at our convention. Um, and then this is just part of it, but I then took the underside of that car and the setup and everything and built up sides to make a gondola. Um, here's one of the versions of it. Um, this is not one that I would submit. This is all 3D printed. This one, I printed this one all as one and ran into some issues of how that was going to look. So I basically, when I'm printing these now, I have three parts. I have the base in the middle, I have the sides, and then I have the underside, and then I'll glue those together because it's a much more accurate underside than this one. And then I'll add the brake parts. There are holes that I've pre-set up in these in the cross ribs so that I can do the brake system. There are, I don't know if you can see it real well. Maybe on this one you can, but there are holes in there for the brake parts to go through and cross over, and the wire and the tubes to cross over essentially. And so the only thing I was really struggling with was the ladders. I'm just not with them as being as thin as they are and small as they are, I'm not able to 3D print them. So I'm just going to have to find the right styrene parts and or wire parts. It's really these supports underneath it. If the supports hold, then this would hold, but I'll have to build those out. Otherwise, and I have another one where I did put in the brake parts. There can be some work done on the ends to better fit some of the brake parts, but this is essentially, my design is essentially done with this one. So I would have a flat car, a gondola, a passenger car, which I'll have multiple, and then I was going to go big, apparently, and Split Rock said, don't do that. I was looking because I had seen a Conrail pulling a Conrail auto rack. So I was like, I haven't seen people model that. So I was thinking of modeling. He's like, no, for the program, do something simple. If you want to build that on your own as a challenge, build that on your own. So as I was looking at them, the coil car did intrigue me. And it wasn't for the size or anything, but I think, like Split Rock said, they're really interesting cars. And so I didn't know if necessarily it would be an easier build than some others. I was expecting to have to reduce the size of this somehow to fit the size of this car. But then I eventually saw that it had the hydro cushion, and that was a whole different thing. And so I was okay with the commercial parts for that one. So I probably won't get a full scratch building points, but hopefully close to it. Yeah. and so we'll see. I'll have to get brakes set up for a brake wheel for the ends. I don't think this came with a brake wheel. Maybe it did. Did it? Oh, it did. It did come with a brake wheel set, so I don't have to pick up another one for that detail. I have some chain if it needs a chain from where the brake wheel will be. And it'll be kind of up on the side here. It'll be like right in here, up towards the top, and then there'll be a little chain that goes down. Then there'll be that ledge, and then the coupler arm there, and I think those would be what would be needed to be complete it, and then the cross beams and that setup, and so those will be, and I still do have to finish the passenger cars. They're close to being finished. I have a couple that are most that are half 3D. There are shell. What I'm working on is to try and truly fully scratch build. I'm working on the shell. Let's see if I can get some better light. So last time I was in, well, not last time, several times ago, a couple of years ago, I was in Chicago at the show that I'm going to at the DuPage County Fairgrounds. I picked up, let's see, 5. A guy had like 5 of these from somebody's collection. These are undecorated Horizon cars. They didn't have the door in the middle, but for the timeline that I'm modeling, it had to have the door in the middle. So that was a big thing for me to do. And you can see this one's in progress. I've 3D printed, designed and 3D printed a shell. There are some things I have to figure out from where, because I use Bamboo Labs A1 filament printer. So dealing with supports, you have things that come up like this unless you get the right supports. But I was able to get the basic design down. Here's the end of one of the cars. That is similar there. So totally doable. And so the goal is to have, I was able to print that in the inside as well. These are inserts on this one, but I was able to get that printed in there. So the goal is to fully 3D print. The major problem I've been having with the Horizon car model has been the underside of the base of it. I haven't been able to get exactly right to fit, and struggling with that. The detail parts I have been able to do 3D printed. So here's another one. So these details are 3D printed details that are on here. And there aren't a lot. Now the wiring here, that's K&S music wire. There is some styrene rod to be the wires attached to the center sill, but the center sill and these side sills with the holes in them for the wire are 3D printed. The wheel sets, These are not my design, but they're a really nice design. And they came with actually a full car that was designed by somebody. And I know they're not right for the specific car, but they're really nice. They run really well. I still put a little graphite in them, but they print really nicely, and I'll print like 20 at a time for the cars that I work on and stuff. And so I'm not worried that they're not the right wheels from an economic standpoint. You know, um, I've seen different types of wheels on these cars, and I haven't been able to find the right set of wheels that don't have, um, unless they're like powered wheel sets. They all have the frame to on the outside of these. So I haven't really found the right ones for that, and I can have that conversation with, I can have that conversation. It's not going to count against scratch building. It might count against the accuracy of the model potentially, but its commercial wheel sets are allowed. So these I'm certainly allowed, but we'll tackle that when we get there. This is this underbody frame is not 3D printed. So this one, it's just the details are. I've gotten very close, but it's been a little bit off, and I haven't been able to fully 3D print it. But uh-oh, here comes the. Now I don't feel so bad of my knowledge in model rail or in railroading with Tom asking what a minifig is. I feel a little better. So, flat car clinic. So the Gopher Girl can go with you, Tom, if she is not allowed to bring any money or cards with her. So what have I learned between the two? I think it goes. I think they're two different methods to building. That's really what I learned. I also learned that from a visual standpoint, the more accurate, the greater accuracy with 3D printing is more desirable to me than my own techniques. So this light kind of stinks for this white styrene, so it's going to be hard to tell. You can tell here, look at how jagged this is, and some imperfections there, compared to the straightness of these without those imperfections. So to me, as the modeler who built them, I find that this tool gets me to kind of a nicer looking result. And I think that's the thing that that I like about the 3D printing. One of the things with the flat car build was you use some of the with their design, you use some of the styrene strip and that would go and that would frame it, make it more like an I-beam or that sort of thing for the sills underneath, and all around they use that kind of thing, and it would cover it up a little bit, but with the edges problems here, those you could see air, you could see light through them, and it's not, um, and so that's frustrating, and you wouldn't see that with the 3D printing. So what I learned really is that I enjoy the design process of 3D printing, and then I enjoy the results. Um, and even though um, there are ways to really reduce the lines that you get from 3D printing, from filament printing, lines that you wouldn't have in here. You can do some sanding. I could probably get those to look a little nicer. But you know, if I were to design these ribs, they would be perfectly straight, all four of them, and I could get them perfectly distanced, which is just an art form of trying to make them look good on this one. So is it there, I don't know if it's styrene, how close it is, but I thought there was one version of filament that was close to styrene. I could be wrong on that, but I thought there was something close to that. So that's you've got me thinking now. So yeah, so ABS is the one I've heard of. I've heard of ASA. So let's throw this in. This is from our good friend our good friend AI. But so and you know, there's a ton of filaments, so I can only print 3 filaments on the Bamboo A1 because it's an open printer, so I can't print stuff that are going to produce fumes and things. So that's the most common PLA, PETG, which is a stronger version, and TPU, which is like a soft version. This is TPU that I use to cover my phone, and it's bendable and everything. But there are tons of other ones. There are tons that have fillers in them. Nylon is one. There's wood versions where it has actual pieces of wood in the filament. So there are solutions out there. One, like I was saying, what was really difficult is finding the right type of glue that's gonna work with PLA, because the any of the solvent glues like the Tamiya extra thin or Mr. Hobby or any of those solvent glues don't work, and they won't bond the PLA to styrene. So that's why I went with. So epoxy can work. Super glues work, but they're too fragile. So I could bump into this and pop it off. This is really on here solid. This has been a week that the glue is that E6000 has been used. So let me see, what else have I missed? There's a have a good night, Bob. If I missed you on here, this chat doesn't scroll very well. Have a good trip to Canada, and I hope you enjoy it. So I haven't found a solvent cement that's really worked with them. So you can do so much with weathering coil cars, split rock. If you look at those pictures, there's any kind of environment, because you can have a place that accepts the steel coils for whatever they need in any part of the country, but you're going to have if it's in any part of the steel country, you're going to have all kinds of soot and particles in the air that can make some really nice weathering. You could go nuts with them and enjoy going through them. So I'm not gonna build. I'm not gonna do the hood for AP. Yeah, I'm really trying to do the thing we talked about doing, prototype scene. If they didn't really have that on layout, or if I didn't have evidence, and I wasn't able to take a screen grab of the video that had the coil car, and it didn't have, and I gave them one with a hood, then I don't think that would fit, the look. So I wasn't planning on doing the hood. So I have some of those long forgotten projects in a blue tub. So Randy, I would go with to keep it with keep it prototype and everything. I would do the 38-inch wheels, and certainly if that's the feedback that it should have the right trucks on it, then I'll get the right trucks, or I'll try to find the right trucks for it. The 125 ton. The Tangent, I think, sells them with the 38-inch wheels and 125. Yeah, 125 ton ASF roller bearing trucks, and 38-inch wheels. So as noted on their description. You're gonna have to buy us a new house if you're gonna be her sugar daddy, because we don't have room for the boxes of Legos. So yeah, Model C. So I like the design aspect of it, and I like how crisp it can come out. I'm no expert. I couldn't do brick. There are people out there that do a fantastic job 3D printing brick and designing it, and I've tried, and I have no idea what I'm doing with it. Um, One of the things that I haven't done well with until I just did the project, and you can see on previous stream or two ago, this I took a inspiration from a model railroader article about a Rock Island line side building, like a small depot, a tiny depot, or work building, um, with that they built out of their boxcar, and so I built that. Let's see if it's that's. Let's see what I did. If I still have that article around. Yeah. And it was just from an old model railroader magazine that I found the article, and it inspired me to build. So that, I guess you could call it was a scratch build, or you could call it a bash, because I bashed the heck out of the car. And let me go real quick and find that. So it was actually on. I did a AI thumbnail for my last show that had the building in it, and I had it on my current layout that doesn't have anything on it. But over the last few live streams, I have been let's see here. Let's see if we can get so you can see the building I built or bashed out of the car on this live stream. So I certainly do like I certainly do like the aspect of that. But there's an element of the design piece that I really like as well. I've stayed away from. There's acetone and MEK and a bunch of things, including, I don't know if it's in the Tamiya. I forget what they have, butyl acetate and acetone in there. So I've used those, but I don't think I've used MEK though. I think I've stayed away from that from the things that I've heard. Have a good night, modeling stealing in HO. Have a good night. It was nice to have you in here. So scratch bashed. So yeah, you could do that. That's a good way to describe it. And so I've had different experience. So you have the clinic from the Lone Star region. It has everything spelled out for you, and shows you, and it's a PDF version, and it shows you the steps essentially. Um, and so it still took me, what was it, 3 times, I think, or 4 times, in order for me to get to the finish line with that. Um, there is then I what I had to do with this, for instance. I took a kit and I cut everything, all the details that they had on there, which some were actual kind of the details that should have been, but cut them all off. And I followed a magazine article on exactly how to do these. And it had all kinds of measurements and showed me how to do them. Or talked about it, including how to cut out that you have to cut out the door. It didn't. I don't know that it didn't really show the cutout door or the person cutting out the doors. But I mean, it gave description. This was really, really useful. So I printed this out and I blew it up. I copied it on our printer copier, and I blew it up to HO scale size, and I built certainly off the photographs here, but off the descriptions here as well. There's all kinds of descriptions in the article about what size hole to drill and what styrene to use and what measures and everything. And this was all for one small bill. One part of it was the waste treatment thing, and this whole big thing. It was nice because it also had, this is HO scale sized ends of the cars. This is a cab car, and so it helped me build those pieces to the cab car and design everything. Now, like this cow catcher for this cab car, that's one thing I tried building with styrene and was terrible. It looked horrible. It was all lopsided and everything. I went in and built a way more accurate version in a CAD program and was able to print it out. And it took a while to do. It wasn't just, I didn't magically make it happen. But this had all the guidance. I knew it had some holes to the guidance, but it had the guidance to it. Then we moved to this guy, and I don't have any guidance. I've had to go out and figure all that out. And I definitely couldn't. I would have run scared if I had to do this as my first build. So having some of this experience with these different types of, from building kits. I mean, I built AccuRail kits and things, which are very, very basic and give you an idea of how things go, and that you have to glue things and they have to fit in place and look like where they're supposed to look and all of that stuff, and add details. I haven't completely finished it. It's another project on a shelf, but I took a kit I got from a place I'm going to go visit in Mundelein, Illinois, when I'm out in Chicago area in a couple weeks. And I built that kit. And so I had experience with that kit that had a lot of detail parts, and then I added details to it, including an interior and some lighting and stuff, and some pickups for the lighting on the underside. So all of those things have helped me not run away from this. Not only not run away, I started by doing the 3D print of it, then decided I was going to challenge myself and see what I could do between the 3D print and from styrene build. That shows some progression for me, obviously, but also shows some different types of modeling, from modeling kits with very detailed instructions to articles with somewhat detailed instructions to articles with just photos and kit bashing based on those photos, or as you scratch bashing based on those photos, to finding all the details that I need to figure out how to build it from scratch. So um, um, that's that's the journey I'm on, and that's the point of the achievement program through the NMRA. And so I am thankful that I did it, and I just jumped in because I'm better for it now. I'm definitely better at modeling through this process, and so anybody thinking about it, I say just jump in and try it. And if it's not your type of thing to be part of the NMRA or try that program, as a modeler, just jump in and try stuff. And as you do stuff, you'll get better. It's helpful to have feedback and friends that can give you feedback and help you out. And that's something the NMRA provides. Um, there are a number of master model railroaders in my division that I can get direct feedback from. And they're all very accomplished. I look at their models and I don't think any of my models are close to theirs. Even the one I merited with, I don't think it gets close to what they can do. And so I'm always looking for their input on how I can do better and their techniques and things. I love when we do technique activities. They're my favorite, and I'll try to encourage them to schedule more things that are technique based and stuff. But that's purely selfish. But you get whatever you get out of it, what you put into it, and so that's my soapbox for the evening. And want to thank everybody for hanging out for quite a while tonight. And it looks like my audio stayed on for the whole time. And so if I don't see anybody at Scale Model Supply this weekend, everybody have a great weekend. I'll have another show Easter weekend, and hopefully some folks will hang out. And then I will skip a show when I'm in Chicago. But maybe Tom can go live and show and do a live build of his gear setup that he needs. But I want to thank everybody for showing up, and have a fantastic rest of your night. And remember to just jump in.